If there's one thing fans have learned over the last several years with the current state of modern day entertainment and the Hollywood industry, it's that if you're a fan of something, even if it's from decades ago, a long-running franchise, a great character, in all likelihood, it's only a matter of time until woke activists come and try to destroy that thing that you love. And in the case of James Bond, people have been worried about that for a long time. Even just a month ago, a new James Bond novel was released and it got torn to shreds because of all the woke nonsense that was in it. But the real thing that people are worried about is obviously the movies. With Daniel Craig's last couple iterations, you could see a couple things creeping in that people were not big fans of. So the writing is on the wall for this franchise to take an ultra woke turn. And then you get stories like this. James Bond franchise producer Barbara Broccoli says executives haven't even begun modernizing the franchise, adding that there's a big road ahead before the character's reinvented for the next chapter. Now, the phrase modern audience or remaking it for a modern day, things like that, that's usually the death note for a lot of these franchises out there. That's just the reality. So when people hear something like this, they get extremely worried because they probably know exactly what's about to come out. And you can just see the tweet. The tweet has been ratioed by Variety for their story, and this is the story in full. James Bond producer says they haven't even begun reinventing franchise after Daniel Craig's 007 retirement. There's a big road ahead. Critical Drinker put out there, did it ever occur to the reason that Bond's been around for 6 decades is because he didn't need to be modernized? And when you do get into it, they start to get in some details about what exactly they mean. I will say this, I think there's some things in here when you're talking about discussing modernizing the character of the franchise that actually do make sense in terms of, hey, the technology or the weapons that are being utilized or things like that. But if you're talking about trying to appeal to modern day audiences in terms of social justice and woke nonsense and race swapping characters and all this bullshit, that will drive fans away in an instant. We've seen it a million times, and that's why people are roasting this right now. James Bond producer confirms character and films will be reinvented for the modern world. In an interview with The Guardian to promote the Prime Video reality series 007 Road to a Million, and that is some basically kind of like a reality game show. Not game show, but they're doing a bunch of James Bond situations, having regular people try to do it, and they can win £1 million, some bullshit like that. Broccoli informed the outlet that there are plans for the character to be reinvented for the next chapter, albeit she and other execs haven't even begun that process yet. The Guardian's Tara Conlon added, she said the next film would have to reflect the way the world has changed in the 2 decades since Craig was confirmed as the 6th 007 and pointed out that Bond has often been reinvented. Broccoli went on to justify why she believes the character needs to be reinvented for the modern era, pointing to Pierce Brosnan's GoldenEye as well as the recent concluded Daniel Craig era. I go back to GoldenEye when everyone was saying the Cold War's over, the wall's down, Bond is dead, no need for Bond, the whole world's at peace, now there's no villains. And boy, was that wrong. And that's the part that I can go to and point at and like, if that's what you're talking about by modernizing a franchise, by, okay, what exactly we're going to do from like a global perspective, like the scale of who's the enemy here, stuff like that. Obviously, when so many of the Bond movies before that had been about the USSR and the Soviets and stuff like that, with the fall of the wall, that kind of had to change a little bit. So you understand from that perspective. But then they would continue. Conlon also added that Broccoli informed her modernization is necessary whenever a new actor plays the part. To that point, she discussed Craig's era of James Bond, noting she and other producers wanted to focus on what a 21st century hero would look like. That's where people start having a problem with it because there's a lot of criticisms about Daniel Craig's James Bond because they did touch into like the emotional side of him. And a lot of people rejected that just wholesale because they didn't feel like it was really consistent with how the way the character had been portrayed for the 50 years prior to that. I think these movies reflect the time they're in, and there's a big, big road ahead reinventing it for the next chapter, and we haven't even begun that. These things, when you start to hear these things about modernizing James Bond, people get very worried because usually that means you're going full-on identity politics. You're going full woke. At this point in time, people will be shocked if we actually get a straight white male James Bond. That would be surprising to most people with the current situation in the entertainment industry. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that it's over? Do you think finally the character of James Bond will be destroyed totally and completely because of woke modernization? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.